Festhalle here in Frankfurt hosts concerts, the circus sometimes, and sporting events, including the tour's year-ending singles event, the IBM ATP Tour World Championship. In our feature match on day one of this round-robin event, live coverage of Andre Agassi, the #2 player in the world, taken on from Spain, Alberto Berasategui. Very warm greetings to everybody. I'm Cliff Drysdale. The World Championship starts with 3 days of round-robin competition. There are 2 groups of 4, and it leads to a semi-final encounter on Saturday and then the championship match on Sunday. Now, let me introduce you to Mary Carrillo on a kind of a windy day, and Fred Stolle. It's a little bit cold for Fred, although it can be a lot colder at this time of the year here in Frankfurt. Fred, let's talk about the 2 groups and how they turned out.
Well, the white group and the red group, Cliff, this year. And in the top group, the white group, they're all serving volleys. You've got Sampras, you've got Ivanisevic, Becker, and Stefan Edberg. Edberg was the last man in. It's just the way the seeds fell into place. Because if he'd have come in as #7, then possibly he'd have been down in the bottom group. In that group, they have the ground strokers headed by Andre Agassi. Agassi can do it on anything. No, he heads that group along with those other fellas, Bruguera, Chang, and Berasategui. Now, I think you're going to see a lot more rallies in the bottom group, Cliff, because they're looking for to slow the game down. The tennis balls here are a little slower. They're fluffing up a bit more. The surface is the same, but the big servers on the top group, I don't know. I might go for Sampras there, but Agassi, I think, certainly will take out the ground strokers.
All right, well, the ground stroke group is who we're going to see today. Berasategui, certainly a ground stroker. But how about Andre Agassi, Mary Carrillo? He has done tremendous things since winning the Canadian Open, now #2 in the world.
Yeah, he's done great. He's the first man, in fact, ever to come from outside of the top 20, make it all the way up to what for him is a career high #2. He's playing great ball. He's very focused. He's almost grave and serious out on the court. He wants very badly to commit himself to this game and show that he can be the very best. He's got the best indoor record, and normally he used to fall off in the fall. He didn't like spending so much time in Europe. That's not been the case in '94, and I think he's got a real good-looking chance of winning the whole thing.
Okay, well, Mary, talking about the best indoor record, how about the man with the worst indoor record, Berasategui, a finalist at the French Championships, but frankly, he just likes to play on the dirt.
He's a clay courter, and he got in by playing so much good clay court tennis to make it here. He plays about twice the number of events of anyone else in this field. He's got to do it on the dirt, and he qualified, so he deserves to be here. It was an honest effort, but I don't like his chances against Agassi. He's only really played a handful of indoor tennis in his whole life. He hasn't done well. He's only won 1 match, and you know, Agassi really wants it badly. So I think, you know, Berasategui has some good weapons. He's got a good first serve, and he's got a very big forehand, but I don't think that'll be enough against Agassi.
Agassi, Alberto Berasategui in the final stages of their warm-up. They got just over a minute to go before they start their best-of-3 first round-robin match here in Frankfurt. Earlier today, Boris Becker over Goran Ivanisevic. He won the first set, just 1 breaker serve, and then Ivanisevic won the second, also just 1 breaker serve. In the tie-break on the 3rd set, it was Boris Becker who won it by 7 points to 5. So Becker, a good start over Ivanisevic, who is the #4 seed in this tournament. Becker through earlier today here in Frankfurt. In the first match of the day here in Frankfurt, 2 former French Open winners faced off. Michael Chang at the top of your screen, winner of 6 events this year and #6 in this tournament, played the French Open holder Sergi Bruguera. Chang got the early lead, including a couple of set points in the first set, but Bruguera came roaring back. He won it in the tiebreak and then went on to win the match in straight sets, 7-6 and 7-5. So Bruguera off to a good start here in Frankfurt over Michael Chang of the USA. Couple of winners today. Becker, a winner earlier. Now Sergi Bruguera also over Michael Chang. It is Andre Agassi playing the 3rd match of the day. This is day #1. 3 days of round-robin competition, then the semi-finals on Saturday, and the finals, best-of-5 sets on Sunday. Players are getting ready for the first point here of this best-of-3 set match. A 9,000-seat stadium, this Festhalle, and it was rocking earlier today when Becker won.
It wasn't great matches, 2 3-setters.
Wasn't exactly a finesse fest in the Festhalle with Becker and Ivanisevic, but it was a thundering 3-setter.
This is Berasategui serving, first point. The US Open champ is 24 years old. He won Wimbledon a couple of years ago, 5'11". He is still from Las Vegas, and that's where he was born. Has won a whole handful of titles, Scottsdale over Luis Matar early in the year. Then he won Toronto in the summer, the US Open, Vienna and Paris. In fact, he's only lost one match since before the US Open, and that was to Ivan Izovich in Stockholm.
Berasategui, you probably haven't heard too much from him. You'd be lucky to pronounce it. We'll probably screw it up a couple of times up here during the week, but he was a finalist at the French. Hits the ball off the same side of the racket, off the forehand and the backhand. Very strange production of the ground strokes.
Berasategui, Fred, to tell you a little bit about him, he's 21 years old, from Bilbao, Spain. Did you ever play in that
Yes,
town?
I did, yeah.
Up in the north of Spain? A very nice little town. He's had a terrific year, 7 wins in Nice over Jim Courier. That really started out his year very well. He won Stuttgart, UMag, Palermo, Athens, San Diego, and Montevideo.
You can see immediately that Andre Agassi is trying to get to the Berasategui backhand, his much weaker side. On clay, Berasategui is quick enough to get around the ball and hit forehands, but already Agassi has got himself a break point, 2 of them, in fact, in the first game of this match.
Berasategui first came onto the scene early, 94 in Nice, tournament just prior to the Monte Carlo Open that we cover for you on ESPN, one of the Super 9.
Saves 1 break point, still a break point for Agassi at 30-40 first game. When he beat Courier at Nice, Fred, he said this was the biggest win I ever had because Courier is really his idol.
Yeah, a little bit of a slip there, but Berasategui recovers very quickly, and look at this. Finishes off that 2-hander there. Wrong footing Agassi down the line. Hit it with authority.
Break point.
He's won 7 tournaments. They listed at 7, but he's actually won a challenger also that makes it 8 winning events this year.
Miss-hit from Berasategui. The players will change ends with Agassi. A break in hand. Day 1 of the round-robin competition, the World Championship in Frankfurt. First set. His statistical rankings look pretty good when it comes to second serve points won. He's number 2 in the world after Michael Chang. Points won returning second serve. He's also number 2 after the man that he's playing, Alberto Berasategui. Break points converted. He's number 3 in the world, and return serve games won, he's number 5 in the world. He's number 2 in the world in the IBM ATP Tour rankings. The showman from Las Vegas. 1 game to love.
Berasategui came in here with a pretty good first serve percentage record, 72% for the year. Good solid serve, but that first game was not very good.
He's down.
That's the second slip he's taken on this carpet court. He only got here Monday from Buenos Aires. And again, we say it all the time, he's a dirt baller, and he still doesn't have the footing he will surely need against Agassi, who will work the ball all over the court.
He may have just a clay court sneakers on. But, may not grab as well on this carpet surface.
Berasategui number 1 in return games won. In points won returning second serve, as you see Agassi's shoes for a moment. He is number 1 in the world. Break points converted. He's number 2 after Sergio Bruguera.
You like Agassi's socks? He's making a statement there. 1 white sock, 1 black sock. Well, Berasategui needs all the help he can get in this match. He doesn't need to be losing his footing and losing confidence in his movement, because this is one of his strengths, moving around the court. As Mary said, trying to run around his backhand to hit that big forehand.
Game points, Agassi.
Easy hold for Agassi. It'll be, again, these two have never played before, but I would assume that Agassi will pound the ball deep and hard, rob this guy Berasategui of time, and keep the ball low too. You know, go from a hard slice to then just a heavy hitting deep ball.
Notice that second serve there. Berasategui didn't try to slide over to it. He tried to actually run over to it and was way behind the ball. So he's lost a bit of confidence in his footing already.
And again, you can see how short that second serve is going to be, and Agassi's going to punish it. Missed that one, though. Berasategui 15 love, down 2 games to love.
Berasategui has to be pretty confident, though. He is a dirt baller, but he's won 6 of his last 10 tournaments. So he's got to come in with a little bit of confidence, but he's up against somebody else that hasn't done too badly the last few weeks, Andre Agassi.
Well, that's called wide. A couple of whistles off of that. Berasategui at 25% first serves in so far. I'm going to say in recent weeks, Berasategui has beaten guys like Alex Correja, Oscar Martinez to win Athens, Santiago. He beat Francisco Clavet, all dirt ballers. That's why we call him backdoor Berasategui. He got in here by playing the smaller clay court events, compared with Agassi, who's beaten Sampras, Martin, Chang, and Stieg lately. That's why I think, though, Berasategui's record is very impressive.
In order to
it's
get
a whole new ball game.
Just to get to Mary, he had to go and play on the dirt because he had done so well last year. He had all those points to defend.
Yeah.
Agassi guiding into the forehand, way out of reach, and he has got a break point for a second break in the first set.
Pretty impressive stuff, this. He's very patient in this rally, Agassi, until he gets that short ball. He could have gone either way with it. Look at the depth he finds right into the corner of the forehand side. So from 30 love, it's now 30-40, another break point for Agassi.
This.
Game point, Berasategui.
That's the best serve that he's hit so far. Creeping up on first serve percentages, up to 31%.
He's going to get himself in a lot of trouble by giving away so much court, Berasategui. Agassi, of course, plays right on the baseline or in front of it. Berasategui still in his clay court mode from well beyond the baseline. Agassi is just going to kill him if he stays back like that. You know, Sergi Bruguera, another Spaniard, first time in over 20 years that 2 Spaniards have qualified for the year-end championships, Jimeno and Orantes. Bruguera has really improved that department of his game. Cuts off the court better.
Yep. Yeah, that was a good shot from Berasategui. He's got a game point again.
A cluster of very good forehands. This is what Berasategui does so well on the clay. He can run around and create openings with that huge forehand of his. And he was able to do it in that point.
That was a tough shot, that last one, from way below the height of the net. Really a strange snap of the wrist to get that one over and down into the corner again for the winner. But if you remember the French, he used to set points up and then hammer that big forehand, and the gasps from the crowd just couldn't believe it. He's not going to have those opportunities very often tonight.
Wow.
Man feeling very at home, having coming off winning the Paris indoor, and before that Vienna, where he beat Michael Stich in the final. Marc Rosset lost to him in the Paris indoor. Biggest prize money single week event of the year, Agassi.
That brought a few oohs and ahs, that one.
Berasategui, when he was 13, went to the Palmer Academy, which was part of Harry Hopman's school out in Saddlebrook, Florida. He was there for 3 years.
His English is terrific.
And he has won his first game of the day. 2-1. Agassi with a break, first set. This is best of 3. Tomorrow as we continue our coverage here on ESPN of this World Championship, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, and then we'll have coverage through Friday at that time, and then on Saturday the 2 semi-final matches and the championship best of 5 set at 4 p.m. on Sunday, all here on ESPN. Crowd is gathering for this evening match. Agassi to serve.
You can see where Berasategui was on that short reply. That return of serve barely got over the net. He then retreated about 15, 20 feet behind the baseline. Tough to hit passing shots on this surface from that area of the court.
At the end of last year, Andre Agassi was number 24 in the world. He got down as low as number 32, but he has come back. He is now ranked number 2 in the world, and if he wins this match, he will have beaten all the other 9 players who are ranked in the top 10 this year. In fact, his head-to-head with the top players is very impressive.
11 top 10 wins this year. That's more than any of the top guys.
Now, I was checking Pete Sampras's head-to-heads against the other top players in the world, and it's not near as impressive. But he is still clearly the best player in the world. 30-15. First double for Agassi.
Mentioned that Berasategui didn't get here till rather late from Buenos Aires, from Argentina. It's showing a little bit here because he has found no depth whatsoever. Everything is into the net, halfway up the net, that forehand, or it's very short, and Agassi is just dealing with it. No length in the return or from the baseline rally so far.
3-1 Agassi.
Well, Fred, Berasategui, his dream coming into the 94 season, he said he wanted to get into the top 10 and he hoped to qualify for Frankfurt. And of course, he is in the top 10 now, and he did qualify for Frankfurt, but he was pretty honest in his assessment of his chances here this week. He said, I'll be happy if I win 1 match. And I don't think he expected to win this one.
And at least he does have a chance here also because he's in the ground strokers group. It's not as though he's against the serve and volleys.
For one thing, he's played so little, even hardcourt tennis. You know, he's only played 4 matches this year on a hardcourt, 5 on a carpet. He didn't play on grass at all. So all his success, in fact, all his tennis virtually has come on clay.
Love 30.
Fans here trying to pull for more of a match.
Just got a lot more firepower, Agassi, doesn't he? As you were saying, Mary, I mean, he stands inside the baseline. You give him anything short, which you see a lot of from Berasategui, and you're in trouble. Here's an example.
He's obviously got the mindset, too. He starts by attacking the back, and then once he's opened up the court, he can go into the Berasategui strength, knowing that Alberto will be off position.
That last forehand was only to the service line, though. Look at that one. That's not very deep either.
There's another break for Agassi. He's got 2 breaks now and leads 4 games to 1. He's having an easy day at the office so far, as Fred would say. Actually, it's night time here. This is live coverage.
The fitness area, Cliff, and I had not, so
okay.
Just in the elevator. But he said he enjoyed the trip over with Andre. They had a good time, and Beach, Brad Gilbert said, hey, that's the only way to travel.
4 games to 1 Agassi. It is 7:30 in the evening in Frankfurt, as we hope you're enjoying this live match. Cliff Drysdale sitting alongside Mary Carrillo and Fred Stolle. It was snowing this time of the year last year here. Little better weather so far. 4 games to 1 Agassi and 30 love now.
Agassi just doing everything too well at the moment. He's hit 7 winners as opposed to Berasategui's 4, and only 5 unforced errors. Berasategui has committed 10.
Another easy win for Agassi, and he is ahead by 5 games to 1 now. 21-year-old Berasategui is from a small Basque town, actually. Sorry, Mary.
You rightly called Andre Agassi a showman at the beginning of this match, but he doesn't do a whole lot of, fancy stuff anymore. He has become so solid and so determined. I mean, he's very, very businesslike in the way he plays his tennis matches now. It shows in his results. He's not the flashy guy. Everyone still reacts to him like he's flashy, but what's flashy about him are his big strokes and his very consistently good play.
His results. 15 all. Again, he's just banging him. Of course, just looking at him makes you think that there's something to say about him. I mean, he gets your attention, Agassi.
Crowd trying to once again get behind Berasategui. And the service ace there. They had a lot to cheer about when Becker played a very exciting tiebreaker against Goran Ivanisevic.
Coached by Javier Duarte from Spain is Berasategui. Game point, Berasategui.
Stayed in.
Deuce. The French Championships this year, he beat Kafelnikov, who had had a very good clay court season, and Ivanisevic. He beat Cedric Pierlin and Wayne Ferreira. Game point, Agassi.
Of course, Agassi's French Open run was stopped in 5 sets by Thomas Muster.
Set point.
That's one of the few times that he lost a little bit of patience, and you can afford to do those things when you're seeing the ball like Agassi is at the moment. 5-1 and a set point. He said, hey, I'm going to try and hit this one for an outright winner.
Yeah, you don't have the feeling that he thinks that he's in any trouble, do you? Break point and set point again for Agassi after 23 minutes. Saves another one.
Well, the longest game of this first set was when Berasategui held serve to get on the board at 2-1.
Missed it. Here's a game point for Berasategui coming up.
So if he wins this game, he has really earned the 2 games that he's put on the board so far in this opening set.
So Berasategui holds on 5-2, barely hanging on. Agassi is going to serve for the first set after this break from Live Tennis in Frankfurt.
Into the net, or very, very short, and when he misses, they're bad misses. That's not hitting the top of the tape. That is 6 inches below that net. So the balls must be a lot heavier than the balls used in South America.
It's wide.
Boris Becker was a bit unhappy with the fluffiness of the balls in his match against Ivanisevic. He held one up deprecatingly by a very long, by the long fuzz of it, as if to say, what's with these balls? I can't get any pace off of them. But just as Becker had taken out Ivanisevic in the 3rd set tiebreak 2 years ago in the semis here, he took him out earlier today in a 3rd set break.
So terrific rifle shot from Agassi, giving him a set point. He also took out Ivanisevic in the final in Stockholm.
I don't think Berasategui's played against somebody that hits the ball as consistently hard as Agassi. Look where Berasategui is, way behind the baseline and just scampering back and forth to try and stay in the point. Again, everything's short, and Agassi just dictated the trend of the point.
That's the thing. Agassi is taking his best shots, Berasategui's best balls, and just spitting them back even better.
What's the angle created off this one? Just no chance for Berasategui there. The first set to Agassi. Preparation, good swing. Look at the eyes, just no movement on the head, and then flicks the wrist as he comes over and gets the acute angle on that one.
First point of the 2nd set goes to Agassi.
And as well as Andre Agassi played in winning the U.S. Open, where he beat Wayne Ferreira, Michael Chang, Thomas Muster, Todd Martin, and then Michael Stieg, he said, the way I'm playing now, which is only a matter of weeks after the Open, the way I'm playing now, I would have beaten me then 4-2. That's how he gauges how well he's playing today. I'm not going to argue with him.
No, he's playing with a lot of confidence. Love 31st game, 2nd set, and he won the first going away 6-2.
You can see that those crazy grips of Berasategui. In fact, he grew up watching, you know, one of the national sports is pelota, which is high life, back where we come from. And that's why he plays with those grips. He's very comfortable playing that way, hitting the ball off the same side of the racket for forehand and backhand.
He said that when he went down to Florida for those 3 years that they tried desperately to change him and finally gave up.
Yeah, this would be a hard thing to change. I remember, in fact, Tommy Thompson and a bunch of the guys were trying to tell him, look, man, you can't be a world-class player like this. But he has proven everyone wrong with this remarkable stroke making of his.
Break points. Break, first game, second set. Agassi is making it look very easy tonight. Very easy in Frankfurt against Berasategui. The inaugural ATP Tour World Championship took place in 1990. Andre Agassi faced the #1 player in the world that year, Stefan Edberg, in the final. Agassi prevailed, defeating Edberg in 4 sets. With the win, Agassi moved to #4 in the world. Andre Agassi. First point of the second game to Agassi. He leads 6 games to 2, 1 game to love, and now 15 love. That 1990 win was the first major really for Agassi. Watch this again.
Look where Berasategui is again, just scrambling, and finally the angle and the pace are just too much for him again. Well, bit of a applause from the crowd there. That's the only point Berasategui has won in this second set.
Agassi played unsuccessfully here in Frankfurt in '91, and then he did not play the last 2 years. He didn't qualify.
He had a bad wrist injury about a year ago this time. He lost 5 months, in fact. That's why his ranking was so far down at the beginning of this year when it was down to 32 in the world. In fact, Berasategui was a few spots behind him at the beginning of the year. They've both made great leaps.
He had surgery to correct that problem, and it worked for him. He had it done by the same fellow that had worked on Jimmy Connors' wrist. In fact, he started out this year playing in a cast and won his first tournament in Scottsdale.
Draws.
30 all. That is Agassi's second. This is the third match of the day. It is the only match that will be played in the evening session. It is now 7:43 here in Frankfurt. Boris Becker earlier today took out Goran Ivanisevic, tiebreak in the third set, and before that Sergi Bruguera beat Michael Chang, tiebreak in the first set, and then 7-5. So we've got 2 winners, Bruguera so far in the red group, Becker in the white group. Agassi holds on, 2 games to love.
Chang felt after the match that he was just pressing too much. He said, I was caring too much about winning and losing and not just playing. Chang has never had, it's the 3rd time he's qualified for the championships in Frankfurt. He's only won 1 match so far. He is in the same section as these 2 guys. As we watch this match, I wonder, you know, Sergi Bruguera has made great strides. I mean, he acquitted himself beautifully at Wimbledon this year, winning a couple of big matches there, and he plays well indoors now. Can Berasategui really make that change, or his grip's too limiting?
They're too limiting, in my opinion, Mary. I remember being on the plane with his dad, Bruguera's dad, when we were going from the desert of California out to the Lipton, and he was saying, check my son's results. He's starting to play better indoors, and he has. And he, as you said, he had a good Wimbledon. But no, Fred,
playing Wimbledon, Cliff, gave him a lot more confidence, Bruguera, too, because he didn't believe he could play on grass, and he came up and played one of the best matches. As we watch this one, a big swing here into the net, that final shot, but Agassi's got this well under control. But Bruguera beat Pat Rafter, and he'd beaten Rafter very convincingly on clay, and Pat Rafter, the young Australian, thought that he could get revenge at Wimbledon on the grass, and Bruguera was just too tough, so he can do it on all surfaces. This young lad, I don't think so.
At 21 years old, he's the youngest player in the field, but you can't imagine how he could ever serve well enough to play successfully on a faster court.
I don't know, particularly on a grass court, I don't know how he would ever return serve off that forehand side. Nicky Pilic there.
Captain of the German Davis Cup team. Having some video problems, we understand. Sorry, working on it and hope it'll be corrected soon.
That's just too tough. This is just a good practice session for Agassi. Look at it again. Just scrambling and then a short one again. This is the finish of it.
Break point for Agassi coming up for the second break. Steered it just long. You know, we were talking about this group being the baseline group, but there are baseliners and there are baseliners.
Well, Agassi's a pretty explosive baseliner, but he has not been to net yet in this match.
Hasn't had to.
No.
Another break point for Agassi coming up.
Boy, he gets a lot of shoulder rotation into that.
There it is, 2 breaks for Agassi, and he won the first set easily 6-2. I mean, I thought Agassi was going to win. I didn't think it was going to be this much of a blowout, though. Agassi to serve. Agassi's only lost 3 points, make that 4 now after that last point on his serve. 2 of them were double faults, so Berasategui has had no success against Agassi's serve whatever. Whatsoever.
That's his third ace. In the opening set, the only point that Agassi lost on his serve was a double fault. It's pretty impressive you go through 2 sets against a player like this who has a good record on return of serve.
It's not a very good advertisement for Spanish tennis tonight here in Frankfurt so far, but they got 2 in the top 8, Bruguera, Berasategui. They got another 3 in the top 50 with Carlos Costa, Javier Sanchez, and Alex Correia. Of course, the women, Sanchez, Vicario, and Martinez.
And as far as I'm concerned, Arantxa Sanchez Vicario is the best player of '94 on the women's side. She won the French, she won the U.S. Open. She's beaten Graf 3 times this year.
And Conchita won Wimbledon.
She won Wimbledon.
Upset last night, though, at the Virginia Slims in Madison Square Garden by Julie Allard from France.
Agassi holds on, 4 games to love. Second set, 6-2 first set, Agassi.
That gives Martina Navratilova a great-looking chance in her final event of her career. She plays Sabatini, and she's on that section of the draw that has now lost Sanchez Vicario.
Oh, yeah. Just a percentage shot when you're this comfortable, this confident. Look at Agassi get set for this one. He just moves in and says, I'm going to hit this as hard as I can possibly hit a tennis ball.
And the thing is, his arrogance in his shot making is totally justified. He's not even taking risks when he hits like this.
That's the pity for Berasategui, that he comes up against a guy who is playing so well. have been nice for him to get up against somebody that at least gives him a smell, but not so Agassi, who's just made it a terrible night for him so far. Watch.
Berasategui's won 6 points so far in this second set. 2 of them have been double faults.
Oh.
Well, if you're going to have a terrible night, at least you want it to be a short one, and this one is.
5 games to love Agassi and 1 set to love. Agassi serving 30 love. Agassi just 2 points from a win now at 5 games to love and 1 set to love. Not good news here, Fred, is it, for Michael Chang or Sergi Bruguera, who are in the same section with Agassi? 40 love, match point.
Now, the way Agassi's going here, he took out Bruguera last week in straight sets, so he's got to be favourite. But it's tough to gauge after a match like tonight because he's just romped over. This is one of the fastest matches I've seen here, 45 minutes. And he served 3 double faults in this set. Here's the crowd cheering.
Yeah, he's going to be trying it. He wants to last a little longer.
Double fault, yeah.
Well, if you enjoy watching somebody do what he does well, then I hope you enjoyed watching Andre Agassi, as one-sided as this match was. No trouble at all over Alberto Berasategui.
45 minutes Clifford took in all, and that includes the changeovers, folks. And Andre Agassi just in fantastic form. He's seeing the ball. It looks the tennis ball looks like the size of a football for him at the moment. And both Chang and Bruguera had better watch out, although Agassi certainly was the pick in the bottom group.
We're going to take a break and be back with more tennis from this World Championship in Frankfurt. Andre Agassi, an easy winner today over Berasategui of Spain.